Meeting to order. The purpose of the public meeting is to receive public comment on the proposed fiscal year 23-24 budget. Don, do you have any comments on that this time?
No, sir, I'm just giving you the people who signed up for public comments.
Okay. Tonight, first up is Mountain Projects.
Thanks for having me, Commissioners. I'm John Chicoine with Mountain Projects. I'm the Senior Services Director or Manager. Patsy Davis couldn't be here tonight, but I just wanted to come and thank you for your support over the years. And of course, again, this year, I just saw how many nonprofits asked for your help, and it's pretty daunting, it looks like. You give each year to the Senior Companion Foster Grandparent Program that helps seniors in the community, Jackson Neighbors in Need, the GED program, and Haywood Jackson Volunteer Center. So I just wanted to let you guys know that we do appreciate your support over the years, and it's been a great collaboration with the county and Mountain Projects, and we certainly tend to continue to do that collaboration. So that was easy, huh?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up is Mr. Coward, Jay Coward.
Commissioners, thank you. I just wanted to express my appreciation on behalf of the Pinnacle Park Foundation for that very generous appropriation that you made. That's very encouraging. We're delighted that you're a participant in that. We spoke with Equinox, the company that's going to do the master plan today, and we also had our board meeting last night, and we feel like that the county needs to play a bigger role in the process that it has in times past, and what we would like to do is to invite you to be part of the steering committee effort. Equinox believes that there needs to be a steering committee that goes through the entire project of around 7 people, and we wanted to extend an invitation to the county to appoint someone. We'd be delighted if Chairman Letson would serve on that steering committee. It will have just the key people who will just keep the thing on track. And what we're thinking is that the Recreation Department of the county would in the future play a big role in how Pinnacle Park is used and how it serves the public. And the best way to make sure that that happens is to have somebody at a high level be a participant all the way through. So at the end result, when we actually produce the master plan, no one's surprised, and input has been received from people that we regard as stakeholders, of which you are obviously a major one. So that was an invitation we wanted to give, and also just say thank you. I really do appreciate that. I think it's going to end up really putting Pinnacle Park where it needs to be, and will lead to getting some grant money that will help finance where it goes. So again, thank you. And if you want to respond to that invitation, just give me a call, all right? Thank you.
For the public hearing, I only have Mr. Coward and Mountain Projects. This is just for the fiscal year budget hearing. Is there anyone else wanting to speak on that tonight? I know we had a few people come in later. If not, I'll seek a motion to adjourn our public hearing. Second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Now we'll call the 6 p.m. normal meeting, regular business meeting to order. First up, we've got approval of the agenda. If everyone will take a look at it. We did have a request to move item 4 down to below the appointments, which is the budget discussions. So that's the only adjustment we'll be making tonight. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll approve the agenda with modification.
Okay. And is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Looking now at our minutes from our work session on May 9th, our special call meeting May 15th, and then our regular meeting May 16th. If there are no adjustments needed, I'll seek a motion for approval of those 3 sets of minutes.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carries. Moving on now to chairman report. I had the pleasure of speaking this past Memorial Day at Mark Watson Park with the VFW 104th, and it was a great honor. Humbling ceremony, and everybody should, I think there were probably 80 people in attendance. It was great. A lot of things going on around the county that are happening and moving, and it's positive to see a lot of people stop and just take remembrance of those that serve. So, any other commissioner reports tonight?
Got a little thank you card from Mountain Projects. They had a little issue that they thought they might need a little extra visibility, so I called Sheriff Farmer and asked him if they would send an additional patrol around to their sites, and he did so, and they just sent a thank you.
Any additional comments?
No comment here, sir.
I'd like to thank everybody that came together for the Memorial Day celebration and dedication. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there. I was on my anniversary, but that, and also Sheriff Farmer for the outstanding law enforcement drug bust that him and the Eastern Band, and boy, there was a bunch of them all combined.
I think it was Haywood.
Yeah,
Swain.
Haywood, Franklin, Swain, yeah, Macon was in on it. Yep, 98 people, I believe, were taken down, so
Citations.
kudos to Sheriff Farmer and all of our law enforcement.
Moving on now to county manager report, Mr. Adams.
So yes, sir. You should have the report in front of you. I have it up on the screen also. The first item you have enclosed in your packets is the May 23 zoning and building permit summary. As you can see, in the month of May, the planning department issued 0 permits. In the month of May, and code enforcement issued 3 commercial permits and 1 renovation addition permit. This report basically shows the owner business name, the work permit, and the location of the project. Next, we're talking about construction projects in the Animal Rescue Center. I am glad to report I did receive its certificate of occupancy on May 17, 2023. Kind of give you a little background. Last time I stood before this board, I was discussing with the board about planning on moving in within a month, and literally the day after, when we were going through the punch-out list, we had a variety of issues that needed to be corrected, and that's what's been occurring in the last multiple weeks. And so, kind of go over those items. I'll go back to my manager's report so people at home can see it. Since that time period, several items were identified during the punch-out. These major items include additional site stabilization, if you recall. Before we can open up the dog park and the walking track up top, we really needed to make sure it's stabilized with grass. Repairing a water leak was discovered under the main concrete patio. Literally, there was a water leak in the main lines that were underneath the site, not in the building. And so we had to go through the site and add additional cutoff valves in different locations until we could finally locate the water leak. And unfortunately, it was right under the concrete, the large concrete patio that's outside the facility. We were able to run a new water line. They were able to run a new water line outside of the patio, so we did not have to cut the patio up and re-pour it. So we were fortunate in that sense. We also had drainage issues in the kennel space, drainage issues in the main parking lot, and also at the park facility. All of these items have been fixed along with the majority of the other items identified. As stated, we have received a certificate of occupancy. The facility also has received final inspections from the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. This is the inspection department that inspects for the Animal Rescue Center itself, and so we have to pass that inspection on an annual basis. So maintenance staff will be setting up the remaining equipment this week. Animal control staff currently is limiting its current hours and its current location, and it'll be doing so in the next couple weeks. Their goal is to move the animals in by the end of next week, so to transfer the animals from the current location to the new facility. Maintenance will also be completing some of the final site improvements that weren't included in the contractor scope of work. This includes stairs to access the walking path to the dog trail, paint to the pathway that's a paved trail to the dog park. And so there's been concerns about pavement getting extremely hot for dogs' paws. So we're going to put some paint on that walking trail or that paved pathway just so that there'll be cool spots for the dog to walk. We're also adding wire fencing and storm drain piping in the dog park area. We've had people excited. They've been going up there and utilizing the dog park. I have to please ask people not to jump the fence and use the dog park. We have storm drainage. Pipes that are, a foot and a half, 2 feet in diameter that captures water off of the upper landfill and then basically takes it to the bottom of the landfill down to the road. And currently those are still open. If you please do not take your dog there at this point. We're trying to close those off, and I'm trying to avoid a dog having a nice little sled or a little slide trip down to the bottom of a culvert, and that would be a serious. It is funny when you think about it, but that would be a serious issue of trying to correct. And so we are finishing that up. And so ultimately, while we're transferring over, maintenance staff is finishing those items. Moving on, fencing around the retaining wall. Everybody's seen that large retaining wall. We've had some safety concerns. We just want to make sure kids and adults too don't decide to try to climb that retaining wall. So we're going to put some control in that to make it where people will have to truly go out of their way before they get up on that retaining wall. And then other safety concerns, adding fencing around the methane flare and adding fencing around the methane wellheads at the walking path at top. Those are all things that we're working on the next couple of weeks as we're transferring the dogs. What will happen is we will do what we call it's going to be somewhat of a soft opening as we transfer the dogs over. They're going to have limited public hours while they're trying to get the facility open. And then ultimately, while that's going on, we'll work to get these other things completed to get the dog park open and also to get the walking trail open at the top. Next, just talking about some pictures. Let me go through and just show y'all what you do have included in your packets. It's just here is the facility itself. Just a reminder, there is a community room here that will be accessible by nonprofits and things of that nature. Just scrolling down where I'm standing here on this particular one is I'm standing up at the Green Energy Park looking at the animal rescue facility and also some storage area for nonprofits. Zooming in, when I talk to you all about water issues in the parking lot area, what ended up having to happen is back in this back area, ended up having to get the contractor to cut approximately about half of that parking lot out and repave it because it was flowing into our salary port area, but we've gotten that fixed. Ultimately, just showing you a few other things that we had to do in the last couple of weeks. if you see right here, this is backed off showing the green energy operations along with the parking area. If you see right here, the cut into the pavement, that is adding a new storm drain, a new manhole here. You also added a new manhole at the bottom of the retaining wall over here. And so ultimately just trying to control the water that was coming up on the sidewalk and also control the water that's coming off the retaining wall. These are all things that I had to make the contractor go back and repair. And these are items you really need to repair before you open up to the public because it's just not safe to have the public there. Just scrolling down, this is actually giving you another view of the facility itself. But this is me standing up on the pathway that's going towards the dog park itself. And then just scrolling down, just a reminder, this Green Energy Park, we did also put a set of public bathrooms out there that ultimately people utilizing the park and other areas can have access to restrooms. Scrolling down, again, these are just different views of the facility itself. There's the retaining wall that I was talking about. And so on these ends here, on both ends, we're going to put some fencing there so that people don't try to climb up and get on top of that retaining wall. You'd hope people wouldn't do it, but ultimately we need to protect people from attempting to do it. I did mention to you that we had some flow issues in the kennel space, so I did have to make the contractor go back in and redo all of the kennel flooring. Okay? And so what I wanted to show you is we weren't getting appropriate flow. The finished look is what you see here. But I wanted to show you that what did take a couple of weeks, they did have to go in and build up the floor with epoxy and get the appropriate flow to the drainage that we have here. And then ultimately they had to take down all the stainless steel kennel gates and so forth and put it back. All that's been complete now, and we've passed inspection.
Now,
Yes, sir.
Don, was that a mistake on the contractor's part?
Yes. What's happened here on this particular one, we could have them go back and rebuild it at spec, and so for the vast majority of it, it did fall on the contractor. But I did end up trading some liquidated damage days with them to actually build this higher than spec because we wanted to ensure that we got the flow. So the vast majority of it did fall onto the contractor, but went ahead and added a little bit more just to be, we didn't want to have to do this again. Right. So, and so what I wanted to do, the spec called for less than 1% fall. So it was like a 0.7% fall, which is very minimal. Right. And so we ended up putting that at a 2% fall. And so the vast majority of that cost fell on the contractor, but because he had to go out there and take everything down, sand it down, and paid a little bit more money to increase that fall to 2%. So we've gone out, tested it, retested it, put water on everything, just making sure that once we get the animals in there, we can appropriately clean the kennel space. This next set of pictures is one of the things I mentioned. We wanted to make sure we get appropriate coverage when we have people out there. I don't know if you recall the pictures before, but this was all dirt at one point. So this is on top of the closed landfill itself where we do have walking paths, and just wanted to show you currently the contractor's gone up, and today he's sealed. That was the last thing I was waiting on him to do. He sealed all of the concrete, and so now this facility, the whole campus is being turned over to the county this week. And so we're taking it on. We're basically able to transfer over and start transitioning, hopefully to open up the whole operations. And then finally, what I do want to point out here, you don't see it here. I think I've got it on the next pictures. This is the entrance going into the dog park here. This is what I was talking about, all pavement. We just want to put some paint down here because that pavement does get a little bit hot. Ultimately, once you walk down to this is the entrance to the dog park area. And what I wanted to do is show you a picture of what the dog park looks like from the top of the facility. So this is a large dog park. We do have, as you see, we do have, at the beginning of this, we do have ADA parking, and we do have the ADA slope that takes you all the way to the entrance of this dog park. We're able to get you to, I'll show you, basically to these benches, and some benches right on the inside of the small dog park and the large dog park. But again, that is as far as the ADA accessibility can go. And so if you do need the ADA accessibility and you bring your dog here, just make sure your dog will come back to you, because ultimately this is a very large dog park, and I hope people enjoy it. One thing I will tell you is that we'll be able to promote from here from our benches. You actually look down onto the railroad there, and you do see the fugitive trains. It's about as clear and as good as anybody will ever see it. So I hope if that still is a popular attraction, hopefully people will come out and utilize this facility to take a look at that.
We'll go back to the retaining wall picture. I know you said we put fences on each end, but if they go around and come down the bank, should there be a fence along the top of the retaining wall?
Yeah, you can. We talked about that, but I think initially we're going to block it here and then block it all the way here. So, I mean, what they would literally have to do is come in on it from the back side. So if we block it from about here over, and then here we're going to take it not just to the building, but all the way back here. So you would literally have to walk off the property to get over the fence. And if it becomes a problem, I agree. We did talk about, do we put a chain link? Do we take it all the way to the top there? And eventually that may be what we need to do.
Get a large one.
Yeah.
Like a 4-foot one, just to keep somebody from accidentally falling off of it.
I'll talk to maintenance about that, because we went back and forth on that. And the main thing, since we're getting so close, but I was wanting to make sure that we at least block them from getting up there. But I walked right now, especially on this side. It's just inviting for you to walk up. That's like a set of stairs right there, is what that is. This right here is a 4-foot wall, so you'd actually have to jump up on the 4-foot wall. But we're going to put a fence right there too, so it becomes equivalent to a 4-foot wall plus a large fence that it's going to be very difficult to get over. But
It's a resourceful.
I'm sorry, yes, sir, yes, sir, and. I absolutely agree. And so ultimately, we'll go back and take a look at that. Next is the Aquatic Center. The project is 35% complete through April 23. Structural steel, the installation is ongoing. As everybody's seen, masonry wall installation is ongoing. The laminate beams are set, metal and wood decking installation is ongoing. Before I go up to that, let me go back to the Animal Rescue Center. So by the end of this week, the facility will be transferred over to us. And then by the end of next week, the health department, the animal control staff will be transitioning into the building by the end of next week with the animals. And then we're hoping within that time period, we can get these other items complete to get the dog park and to get the upper trail open. If not, then it may take a week or two. It just depends upon staff. Okay. The other thing too, I need to go ahead and let everybody know, and this is something we're working on at this point, but the only contract I have out there to open up, there's a gate at the bottom of this facility, and it opens currently right now with our SRC site. 7 to 7, Monday through Saturday. It's opened and closed. We need to keep this site controlled because security and people dump garbage and so forth. What we're looking is putting a gate at the bottom. Have you all been over at the emergency management, or have you been to some of our gates where it automatically lets you out and they're on timers? We're looking to put gates down there on timers, but until we're able to get that installed, we'll do the best we can, just watching out for the public. We do need to keep the facility secured, and there will be a demand for Sunday, and I'm aware of that. But there may be a little bit of timing before I can get that place secured for Sunday. Jumping down to the Aquatic Center. Everybody's probably seen when you drive by there, but ultimately you can see we're starting to go vertical, and it's always fun to go vertical because people, it looks like you're finally making some progress, but I promise you there's been a lot of work done in the bottom of this pool prior to going vertical.
It's even advanced from here. They've already got all the sheeting on all the roof that you see. That's all sheeted and tie-backed.
So that's where you sit and look. You see when I say the decking is ongoing. I think I took this last Thursday. And so from what you've seen, this is last Thursday to now.
Well, I'll tell you, they worked last Sunday. They worked all day Sunday.
Yeah. And so, but we're 35% complete. I know we go vertical, but we are 35% complete. So we're still scheduled for the March, April substantial completion date of 2024. We did have if anybody hasn't seen, you have to go back and check. We did have a live cam out there. We moved the live cam to be, let's see, if you look at this picture, I'm standing on the roof here. So it was on the building that's about like here. I don't know if that was a better cam. We used to have it across the parking lot, but once we moved it here, people could go in and actually see on a daily basis. Unfortunately, what's happened is the internet cable got cut out there, and we're waiting on Balsam to come out. We're fully operational other than that. And so if you go look at the live cam right now, we're not able, you don't see anything, but hopefully as soon as Balsam can correct that, we can get that up and running again. It's an interesting live cam because you've got the same view practically as this picture right here when you're looking at that live cam. Final items is, everybody looking at this, bear with me, I do have to scroll back up top, or some of the final items. Domestic violence shelter, the architects has once again come back to me with significant increase in estimates. This has caused one final design change that reduced the number of rooms back down to 9. If you recall, I came back with extra money to go from 9 to 11 and keep the room size the same size. This right here keeps the rooms at the same size, but there is a significant difference between 9 and 11. I'm talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. Working with the Center for Domestic Peace and working with a group, we've all decided right now, even with the 9 rooms, we're approximately $200,000 underfunded from the current budget. I've asked the architect to come back to this board June 20th for a final approval of the design. We feel comfortable that we're not asking Dogwood or the county for more money at this point. What we're doing is we feel comfortable that the Center for Domestic Peace can fundraise for furniture. They got a year. Once we start construction, they have a year to go after for grants. We're currently talking to Cannon Foundation and the State Credit Union, and they feel comfortable that $200,000 and maybe even more can be made up through those grants as we proceed forward. And I feel comfortable moving forward under that auspice. And guys, the reality is we need to get into design, and we're not going to know what the cost is until the bids are opened. And so that is basically where we're at right now. And again, I've got the architect to come talk to you June 20th to give you full presentation of what the final design would be on this. And just under miscellaneous, I did include in your packets a couple of things. One is an email from Eddie from Department on Aging, and let me grab this and pull it down. And he just wanted to just let everybody know that he is doing a walk to end elder abuse. You do have the flyer. It's June 15th. And I also just put Eddie's email in here to give you a little bit of description. Commemorating the World Elder Abuse Day by hosting a walk to end elder abuse. Department of Aging at 6 p.m. on June 15th. And you can see this year's theme is Walk in Their Shoes. Also, Eddie gives you some statistics that every day 10,000 people in the United States turn 65, and the trend is going to continue. And as he would like to invite everybody out to come and participate, we also combine this with our wellness program. And so our wellness program, our employees can get points, and with points they can get just all sorts of prizes and so forth. So just trying to get everybody to participate in this important event. And then the final item is I thought I'd share a picture with you that Nick Breedlove shared with me. And this is the historic courthouse. This is the Flag for Heroes program. You can see this was for the weekend, for Memorial Day weekend, and you can see the grounds crew did just an excellent job. If you look at the plantings there along with American flags, it's just a beautiful sight. I want to thank the Rotary of Silver. They're the ones who do the Flags for Heroes program. If you're not familiar with that, that's a program where you can purchase a flag, I believe, for $100 in memory of someone that maybe has fallen as a veteran. The Rotary takes all the proceeds from this and gives it to nonprofits in the community, and give kudos to our maintenance staff, because our maintenance staff are the ones who put these flags up and take them down every year and restore them. And then obviously it's just a beautiful courthouse. Mr. Chairman, that ends my report.
Do we have any signed up for public comment?
Yes, sir. We do have one individual.
That's a great snapshot of all that we have going on in the county. All right, we got one person signed up. Mr. Blaine, how are you tonight?
Well, County Commissioners. Good to see you again. So, I believe everyone should have equal rights and equal access to all government-funded facilities and services. I do not believe any group should have more or less rights based on their ideology. Promoting one's group's ideology exclusively results in bias and divisiveness. County tax dollars should not be used to support or promote any political ideology. The Jackson County Department of Public Health is actively celebrating an ideology on their Facebook page and on several county-funded billboards. The Civil Public Library has also decided to promote an ideology with a large display with numerous books near their entrance. The Civil Library and the Jackson County Department of Health is wholly or partially funded with Jackson County taxpayer monies. I believe government-funded entities such as Civil Public Library and the Department of Public Health must be politically neutral in order to promote inclusiveness and keep them focused on their true purpose in our community. So I would really like to see, since you're the oversight of our county-funded entities here, I don't know what you can do, but I don't think we should be promoting one ideology. I think we need to say politically neutral. Thank you for your time.
Alrighty. We'll move on now to the consent agenda and the firework display request. Mr. Adams.
Yeah, this is just a follow-up. These two items were previously approved by the board, but just due to some technical errors on how the vote may have taken place, it's just requested that the board just reapprove the fireworks display request and the Pinnacle Park Master Plan funding just under the consent agenda item.
Is there a motion for approval for the fireworks request and Pinnacle Park?
So moved,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion's carry. Moving now to new business, Mr. Elders with a fireworks display request.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As y'all have learned by now, North Carolina law requires commissioner approval for any public fireworks displays that are permitted and approved by our office. 4th of July is always a real busy time for us. We're actually the one you just kind of went over approving again is actually tonight. I'll be heading that way when I leave here. It's a wedding on Tuesday night. But anyway, these are all for the 4th of July holiday. And we have one of the busiest counties in the state when it comes to 4th of July fireworks. Clubs around Cashiers all want to
don't want to be outdone, so they all make sure they have one. As you can see, though, it's stretched out over 4 days. We have the Village Green on Saturday, July 1st. Sunday, July 2nd, we have the Point, which is the Friends of Lake Glenville, the Country Club Sapphire Valley in High Hampton. And Monday, July 3rd, we have Lonesome Valley, Cedar Creek Racket Club, Chattooga Club. Tuesday, July 4th, we have Bear Lake Reserve Mountaintop Club, Wade Hampton, and the Jackson County Chamber, downtown Silva fireworks. I just need your approval to officially permit these once we complete our inspections on those days once they're set up.
Is there a motion for approval of these fireworks? And a second.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Smith? Commissioner Bryson?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Stribling?
Yes.
Chairman Letson?
Yes. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Moving on now to my favorite part is legislation. And Michael Poston with a resolution designating authority to the chairman.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you, Chairman Letson. The resolution that we have before the board tonight is to request to grant the chairman the ability to sign off on satisfaction for deeds of trust. These particular satisfactions are appropriate and related to the Community Development Block Grant program that the state ran for many years called the Scattered Site, a housing program which provided funding to counties to help and improve homes of folks that qualified, usually in lower income brackets in our elderly population. As a part of that program, over a 10-year period, the funding that was provided was forgiven based on whether or not the person lived in that house for the 10 years and continue to maintain that residency. And at that time, we would be obligated to release the deed of trust. All of the scattered site programs ended in North Carolina in about 2012. We still have some of these that come up every once in a while, and we asked that instead of bringing each satisfaction to the board for approval, that we pass this resolution that allows us to bring that to the chairman. Just to let you know what happens in this process, once the planning department receives a request for the satisfaction, we research to make sure that all the terms of the program have been met by the property owner. Once we're able to do that, we provide that the documentation to the county attorney, who then would go to the chairman once those two reviews have been completed for consideration, and then we would file that with the registry of deeds. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have, if there are any.
And we do have, our county attorney is online here, so if we have any questions for Deborah, she's available. She is the one that actually, this resolution had been passed by a previous board, and she had recommended that this be brought back before this board, and for this board to reapprove if desired to do so.
So we're not approving, or there isn't a specific house or anything tonight.
So not for tonight, but we did include the memo from Allison Kelly in my department, who helps us move these process these, to give you an idea of what we normally do as a department to help ensure that the terms of the program have been met, and that it would be appropriate for us to present a satisfaction for the attorney's review and also the chairman's.
Any questions from the board?
I don't see a need to bring it before the board if all everything's been satisfied. So.
Planning oversight is great. Is there a motion to approve the resolution 23-05?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
And a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Stribling?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith? Chairman Letson?
Thank you.
Moving on now, we have have two things within ABC. We have Mr. Nolan is up for ABC chair again, and he has submitted a document saying he wants to continue. Is there a motion to approve Mr. Nolan to remain as County ABC Board Chairman?
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry. So if you look, his term actually expires, so he would have to be reappointed as a member,
And then they'll elect the chair.
then separately be appointed as a chair. Once he's a member, every year, the chair has to come back before this board to be approved, and the chair has to be approved by both the county and the town. And normally, when I talk to the town, they normally defer in this situation to the commissioners, the county commissioners, and whoever the board of commissioners wish to proceed forward with, they normally follow through with. But, so the first motion would be to reappoint Mr. Nolan for the term, and then the second motion would be to appoint Mr. Nolan as chair.
I'd talk with Mr. Nolan. He's agreed and he would look.
Always agreed, but
So I'd actually like to reappoint him, Mr. David Nolan.
Is there a second?
Mr. Adams, am I allowed to do a second on a motion, even though I'm zooming?
No, sir, I think ultimately it would be the technicality that we spoke of earlier was the rules associated when commissioners are zooming, and it would be a safer move, Mr. Jones, for you not to be part of the motion or second.
Thank you, sir. Just verifying that.
I don't know either one of them.
Is there two? Where's the second one?
It's on this sheet.
Yeah. Mr. Nolan's been serving for a very long time. Confident in his
Well, it's not a question of his ability, but, like you said, he's been there a long time. Should it be somebody else rotated in, or?
We have two in 2024, two in 2025 up for reappointment. One from Silva, or two from Silva. Is it okay for you to make a motion
Yeah, I mean,
or a second?
yes, sir.
I'll second Mr. Nolan. All those in favor? Is there any more discussion? I mean, would y'all like to have more discussion? I don't know Mr. Ziegler.
I don't know either one of them, so. My only concern is he's been there for 10 years already.
Mr. Chairman, I believe this is a vote that has roll call.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson,
I'm just not gonna vote.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Stribling,
Yes.
Chairman Letson.
Yes. Moving now to Planning Board Vice Chair. We have,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm sorry that, I hate to belabor this point, but ultimately, that was a reappointment, correct?
reappointment,
Okay, so then there has to be
a chair.
the chair conversation whether or not the board wishes to proceed forward with that.
Do we want to proceed with, all right. Is there a motion to nominate Mr. Nolan as chair?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second? Second. And Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Stribling,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson, Commissioner Smith,
I'm gonna vote no.
Chairman Ledson.
Yes.
This is an interesting, what was the roll count on that? And what, this is an interesting, I think we need to discuss this vote
Good vote.
because this is an interesting point when we talk about participating remotely. If you recall, in the rules of participating remotely, the person participating remotely cannot make up the quorum and cannot be the deciding vote. And just so for people at home and for people sitting in the audience, this has to do with state law. It has nothing to do with what I'm attempting to do as county manager or legal. It really has to do with state law issues. And so in order to protect the validity of the vote, the person participating, again, cannot make up the quorum, meaning it can't be the third person sitting here. You need three of you to be involved in a meeting for it to be a meeting, so it cannot be the third person remotely, and also cannot be the deciding vote. And what happened earlier was the reason you had redone the consent agenda, when you go back and look at the fireworks display in Pinnacle Park master plan, in which Mr. Coward's here thanking you for doing that earlier, was that Commissioner Jones had participated in the motion for those two particular votes at the previous meeting. And so we were advised by the attorney that it'd be safer for you to redo these votes. And so now, having said all that, Madam Clerk, if you would remind us what the vote count what just occurred, as far as the chair goes.
So Commissioner Stribling voted yes. Commissioner Jones voted yes. And Commissioner Bryson, did you vote no or you did not vote?
I did not vote.
Okay, and Commissioner Smith voted no. Chairman Ledson voted yes.
So this is an interesting, Deborah, I hope you're there because, so.
I am. So everything you said, Don, is correct. Did I understand correctly that one of the commissioners did not vote?
Yes, and in our rules, just so you
So under the law, when a commissioner, the only way a commissioner cannot vote is if they are excused pursuant to some statutory reason. Absent that statutory reason, a non-vote is considered a yes.
and that is
So that
our,
needs to be addressed first.
and that is within our rules of procedure, that when
Which
a
follows
commissioner
state law, so
votes,
that's perfect.
it's in our rules of procedure that it's recorded as a affirmative vote when the vote is not actually either heard or audibly stated. So,
Okay, so get that is a yes. How many yeses and how many noes do we have?
so what we have here is we technically have we have 3 audible yeses. Out of the 3, 1 is remote, and then we have an affirmative yes because it was a non-vote. And then we have
Okay.
one against. Is that correct? Okay.
So really then the vote passes 3-1 because the absentee member, I know that you're present participating via Zoom, but under the statute, as far as what the law considers to be present for a vote, that doesn't count. So it's 3 in favor, counting the 2 members who voted yes who are there, also counting the non-vote as a yes, as is required by your rules of procedure, and then the 1 recorded no. So it passes.
Any discussion? Moving on to planning board vice chair. Tonight, it was unanimously recommended that Nathan Shepard serve as vice chair. Is there a motion to approve Nathan as the vice chair of the planning board?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Yes.
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 Commissioner Stribling? Chairman Letson?
Yes. All right, going down to Southwestern Commission Board of Trustees, we have one person who is turned in an application, Tracy Powell. Seems like she would be a good fit for the board. Is there,
Excuse me, Chairman. She showed interest, but she's not went through the volunteer application process yet.
okay. So,
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
yes, sir.
I probably can't eligible to nominate somebody, but as a trustee on the SCC board and in conversations with an individual, Howard Allman has expressed interest in being on the trustee. If there's another commissioner that would like to make that motion.
Mr. Allman turned in his.
No, I haven't received one.
I think we should table this until we
Yeah.
get all the applicants in, and then we can discuss it.
We're still waiting on Mr. Rogers to send a letter as well. So we'll table SEC for tonight and come back to it at a later time.
Anything from Macon County?
Moving on now to Transit Advisory Board. We have,
So, Mr. Chairman, I just want to make sure I'm clear on, when we tabled that last event there. So I've heard two people interested, and then I've heard that neither one of them have gone through the application vetting process. So is it, at this point, are we interested in having both of them, if they're interested, to ask them to go through the vetting process at this point? Or do we wish to just table the discussion to the 20th to where you can lean one way? How do you wish
I think that we need to get the applicants to turn in their vetting process applications so that we can move forward. Wouldn't the board think that?
we need to ask them, if they're interested, then they need to submit their application within, we'll give them some time frame so that we can go
Correct.
through the vetting process. Okay.
Okay. The Transit Advisory Board has reappointed Kevin Tafoya to serve another term, and Mr. Tafoya has agreed. Is there a motion to approve Mr. Tafoya to continue his term, or his?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
And a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Letson?
Yes. Okay. Moving on now to budget discussions for 23-24.
So.
Oh, this year, okay.
This is really gonna set up the meeting for you. This is really gonna set you up as a board for the next budget meeting that's scheduled for this coming Thursday. And so, Mr. Chairman, if it pleases the board, I'm just gonna throw out a few ideas and concepts as far as if this board is how you wish to proceed forward in the budget discussions. After that, I do have to turn it over to you, Mr. Chairman, and the board to tell me and staff on what you would like to see and what the next steps are. So just a reminder, because we do, let me grab my. So bear with me.
So, Mr. Chairman, what I'm going to do is actually pull up the budget, and this is really for information for people at home and for people in the audience here. As you can see, I've gone to jacksonnc.org. I go to departments. I'm looking for the finance department, which is currently looked at for alphabetical order. And then you can see under the finance page, we have Jackson County budget documents. And what you have in there is the fiscal year 23-24 proposed budget. And this may take a second to download, but this is online right now. This is what the public hearing was held for today. Was any comments on the proposed fiscal year 23-24 budget? Once that recommendation was presented to you from the county manager and from staff, at this point, it's really up to the board to make obviously final decisions after you heard from the public hearing. So what you do have here, I just wanted to just remind the public at home, you do have the entire budget. Don't let the 169 pages fool you. The reality is we do have a table of contents here. We try to set this up that's readable and accessible for all. And in the table of contents, if you want to know about the animal shelter, if you want to know about the sheriff's office or fire, we do have the pages listed here for you to go visit. I also recommend that people go through after they look at the table of contents. At the very beginning, you see this is an 8-page document here that basically is just an executive summary of the recommended budget to the county commissioners. And as you can see, it highlights the entire budget, breaks it down by the category of expense and so forth. I'm not going to go through the entire document. I do recommend people read this 8 pages first, and it would really get you set up for how to research additional information if you choose to do so. So, having said that, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to discuss what I just passed out to the group. What I just passed out to the group is a final form of documents that I've presented to you before. If you recall, during this whole process, in April, we gave you a document similar to this that showed you all the requested capital improvements, personnel, nonprofit information, things of that nature. And then in May, we gave you an updated version of this. I gave you an updated version of this that showed you any changes, and this is the final version. But what makes this a little different is ultimately, if you go through and look at the first tab, let's say capital outlay, then what you have is you have not only the request, so if everybody go to that and you see the first line, it's a governing body, you see the request line or column, and then you see the recommended column. So whereas before I was telling you, when you scroll through this, you see all my recommended personnel and also the recommended new personnel. Well, this, you can go through and actually see detail of each of these recommendations. So, for example, let's go to, if you'll flip to the personnel tab for me real quick. And what you see up here online is you see the following other personnel recommendations are included in the proposal. You can see housekeeping there. So if you basically just look through and scroll down, if you'll scroll down and look to the column to the far right, you see there's dashes. That means there's no recommendation there. And if you scroll down, the first new position recommended is housekeeping at $28,920. You see how that matches up to the housekeeping here. So ultimately, this gives you a detail of all the personnel requested and all the personnel recommended. And then this will take you through all the way through capital improvements, personnel, nonprofits, and then, of course, our schedule. And so, Mr. Chairman, what I was thinking with the board, if you wish to take this document home, it gives you a little bit more clarification of the specific recommendations, and then this would allow for the board to continue the conversations, or I'm ready for the conversations today, wherever the board is in regards to breaking down the capital improvements, personnel, nonprofits. One thing I do need to mention about nonprofits, if everybody will flip to that page for the nonprofit recommendations. We have talked about mountain projects tonight. So the county attorney, I may ask her to weigh in on this a little bit. If you're not aware, there was a law passed, and I don't know how many years ago, but it's in recent times. A law was passed that restricts the types of boards that commissioners can sit on as it relates to how those boards are funded, okay? And so it restricts the commissioner's ability to actually vote on those funds, okay? So how we've handled it, when we went through and vetted all this, and vetted all the boards that the commissioner sits on, and all of the issues we deal with, the only board that came out that really applied to this new law was Mountain Projects. So what will need to happen with Mountain Projects is Mountain Projects will have to be taken out from the overall budget, and the board, 4 of you will have to vote on that separately. What that allows for, Commissioner Smith, is for full participation. Since you're on the Mountain Projects Board, it allows you to vote on the overall budget. But then what we do is we separate out Mountain Projects, and then you all would have to vote on that as a separate fund, or vote on it separately on how you fund it. And then it would have to be the 4 of you that votes whether or not you vote to fund it or not fund it. And that's what meets that actual law. We'd actually, I think, I'm trying to remember, Madam Clerk, if you remember, this is our Darlene, when did we start it? Did we do that last year, or last year is when we started it? So this is something we actually had to do last year.
Clarification purposes, since I'm not allowed to vote, is that an automatic yes vote? Or do they have to have a?
Yeah, so the only thing I would add to that, everything Don said is correct with all the changes in the law and how it would flow and what would need to happen. For that one item where the commissioner sits on that particular board that is pulled out separately, very appropriately, the rest of you actually would have to vote to excuse that commissioner from voting because of the statutory conflict, because he serves on the board. You would have that vote first, and then that commissioner is excused appropriately statutorily from voting. The minutes reflect it, and then the 4 of you would vote on that particular budget item.
So what would happen if it was a 2-2 vote?
Then it's not.
It
doesn't pass.
What I was asking is this.
It doesn't pass, that's right.
Right, okay. I'm just wondering if I was excused, if that was an automatic yes vote.
No. So it could end up a 2-2, and at a 2-2, it would not.
Well, what about if we vote on this and Mark Jones, Commissioner Jones is still away? He's gonna be on the Zoom vote. Is that Zoom vote count?
So I've had this conversation with Commissioner Jones, and Commissioner Jones, if you want to unmute, and I believe you said that you will be here June 20th?
Yes, sir.
Because you're correct. If Commissioner Jones is not here, these are several firsts for me. It's kind of an interesting little caveat of what we're dealing with here. I haven't dealt with this, yeah, and so, but I did talk to Commissioner Jones about why these 2 issues were going to be, I'm talking about the previous issues were under the consent agenda, and that is why Commissioner Jones asked before he made the motion, whether or not he should make the motion on I think you were dealing with the ABC board. And so, as far as you know, Commissioner Jones, you will be here for the June 20th.
Yes, sir. I sure will. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And going and saying that, it's really, so as you can see, if June 20th is the date that you're voting on this budget, it is really important that all of you are here physically present. Otherwise, we could find ourselves in some type of 2-2. By law, we have to have a budget, some form of it, by the end of June, and in order for us to actually legally make payroll and all of that. So, Mr. Chairman, so what I would present what I've tried to do is provide you a little bit more clarification in regards to what the actual recommended budget includes for capital improvements, personnel, nonprofits, things of that nature. I will tell you, there are a couple items that you can note that I want to point out is you can see in capital improvements, that are different and they're higher cost items. You can see the Department on Aging beams roof, I've put in a $300,000 estimate for that. If you recall, that is something on the Department on Aging, everywhere where there's A-frames, there's little dormers that are sticking out. We're getting engineer costs, but we believe all of those are gonna have to be replaced, so I don't know if that's gonna be more or less than 300, I'm just trying to put an item there. And then the other one does go to the Dillsboro Complex is what we're calling it. Ultimately, that is trying to reserve some funds to, at the end of the day, we have, if you take the green energy operations, that trailer has been deemed inaccessible. It can't be used anymore. That was an office. And then the other aspect is, what I'm attempting to do there is, we currently don't have pavement, wasn't in original scope, that takes you to the top of the walking trail. And eventually, I mean, we can hold off and reduce that, but eventually I believe there's going to be pressure from the public. I did design the top of that walking trail where I showed you the concrete walking trail. That is ADA at a level that's all ADA. We did leave enough space up there for a parking lot for ADA only, not for the public. And I do believe long-term you will be requested to eventually open that up. From my end of it, the reality is I can hold off on that, but I just want you to be prepared for that drive or that request. Hopefully, we'll just see how it goes on that. And those are the two significant differences between what you saw a few weeks ago and what you see now.
Mark, I have a copy of this. I'll call you later and set up a time when I can drop it off for you.
Okay, thank you, Chairman.
So for tonight, there's no action necessary on this other than got a little bit more reading to do with the adjustments. So.
And what I would recommend, if you read it, we come back Thursday, literally just go through tab by tab. And then, so for example, personnel, we'll go through each personnel line and see if there's additional things to add or take away or more discussion, whatever the board, it's, all I'm trying to do is organize your conversations.
Any questions for Mr. Adams tonight? Any questions from the press tonight? We do not have a need for closed session tonight. Just a reminder, we have special budget meeting the 8th at 9 a.m. Work session on the 13th at 1, and then our regularly scheduled meeting on the 20th, where we'll be voting on this budget at 6:30.
Mr. Chairman, I heard you that we are meeting at 9 a.m. on Thursday morning.
Yes, sir.
Is that gonna be here or?
Here.
It's the 8th,
The 8th.
this
Thursday.
day after tomorrow.
Yeah. With no further business, I'll seek a motion for adjournment.
So moved, Chairman.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. None opposed?
Uh,
You are closed.